the warning signs that you need to know, that you need to be aware of in order to prevent being terminated. You want to stop them in their tracks. You can fight while you're still in the workplace. And that's what my books and my classes and I, through my consultancy, teach you. So, real quick, when you're going through the book, you're getting the full story. You get the warnings in the gray box that tells you this is a termination warning. The removal of duties, for example, is a warning sign that's designed to decrease your value, limit your exposure, and make it easier for your toxic manager to manage you out of your position. So you're getting all of the warnings, and there are many, many different warnings. But you're not just getting the warnings, you're also getting the lessons that you need to learn from that warning. And more importantly, you're getting my strategy. I'm actually giving you the templates, how I repeatedly took down these companies and got these multiple six-figure settlements. So in this case, the strategy is called the E in email stands for evidence, okay? I tell you the strategy and then I give you the template. This is how you deal with that, okay? I give you the emails that I wrote. I give you the strategies. I give you the tools that I used. I help you build your arsenal. So if you haven't invested $9.99 USD in getting this book and you know you're in a toxic environment, you are doing yourself a big disservice, okay? There's a reason it went to number one in less than 24 hours. Again, it's called Surviving in a Toxic Workplace, Strategies to Help You Protect Your Career. And it is by me, Jacquie Abram, and my beautiful youngest daughter, Delilah Harris. So with that being said, I am going to be quiet and I'm going to introduce you now to Ngozi and Ruth, and they are going to take us through why you need to pay attention and understand white tears and how they can derail your career, okay? So give me 1 second, guys. You know, anybody who knows me knows I'm not technically savvy. That's why I need a team behind me to do all this stuff. So give me 1 second here and we will pull up. Here we go. All right. Ngozi, I'm going to have you take it away, starting by asking you, can you please explain to folks what is the Black Women's Rest Revolution and how can they join? Okay, let's start there.
Hi, sorry for the croaky voice. It's 1 a.m. in the UK. If you are from the UK, put a UK sign in the chat for those that are literally waiting till 1 a.m. Well done to you guys. Thank you so much, Jacquie. Thank you so much, Ruth. This is going to be an amazing talk today. So let's first start off with what is the Black Women's Rest Revolution. Right now, Black women globally, all over the world, are waking up and realizing that we are tired and exhausted. We are tired of being tired. We are tired of holding it all together. We are tired of being worn down. We are tired of navigating professional spaces that was not built for us in mind. And we're longing for sisterhood. We're longing for community spaces, and we're longing to exhale. So the Black Women's Rest Revolution is a global healing movement, a sacred space for Black women who are ready to rest, who are ready to rise, and who are ready to reclaim their joy. It's a sacred space, and it's a space where they not only get the privilege to be amongst Black women all over the world who share one thing in common, which is the constant tyranny of white supremacy, but they also got to teach each other and also to be led by Black therapists as experts to support them in their healing journey. They get racial trauma coaching, they get fortnightly healing circles, they get expert masterclasses, and Jacquie is one of them who comes every single month to give us the playbook and how to navigate these spaces successfully. And most importantly, is a psychologically safe space for us as Black women to really be ourselves and to let down the cape and to really learn how to rest, center ourselves, and prioritize ourselves. So we've put a guide that explains everything about the rest revolution. I totally understand that a lot of people need time to consider and to think, is this the space for myself. And if it is the space for you, then download the guide, and you will be able to find out a lot more about what this space has to offer and the many things that we will be introducing under the Black Women's Rest Revolution banner. Is there anything else you'd like to add, Ruth?
No, you've covered everything as well, but this is the space where we really want to support Black women who want to heal from workplace abuse and racial trauma as well. So it's for us, by us as well. So it's a pleasure to co-create this space with Ngozi as well. And thank you, Jackie, for having us.
Oh, absolutely. One of the things that I dedicated my time to this year, in addition to the many irons in the fire that I have, is, just finding these amazing Black women doing amazing things and amplifying their voices. So it is just really my pleasure and my privilege. And I mean, can you believe it? 5,133 people registered for this event. So that means one of two things. That means, either we're doing the right thing, or this is a topic that is impacting a lot of people. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive into the first video from the Black Women's Rest Revolution, and then we'll talk about that, okay?
And as Jackie is going to play this is really important that everyone has a notepad, has some pen, or whether you write on your phone. It's really important to take notes, because a lot of things are going to be said. We've got a lot of things to condense within an hour. One of the other things, most importantly, is I know people might be in their beds, they might be in their sofas, wherever you are, be in a safe space, because there'll be lots of things that will be said that could trigger, because these are some painful things that many Black women on this call have experienced. Now, I do want to say this, as this is not an attack on white women. Yeah, we're talking about what happens in reality. So if the shoe don't fit, don't get offended. This is where you're going to learn and understand. But we're here to center us, Black women, because it's important that we are not only encouraged, but we are empowered. So this is an empowering conversation today to talk about some of the experiences that Black women face globally. This is a global problem, a global phenomenon. So I just want to put that disclaimer there. Help us to regulate ourselves. If at any point in time you feel like this is a lot for you, take your time. This is being recorded. You can watch the replay. So let's help to regulate ourselves. Be respectful in the chat as well. And this is a place that we are here to learn, to encourage each other, and to strategize. Go ahead, Jackie.
All right, thank you. And I'm going to let you take it away after this video plays, okay?
Can't hear it, Jackie.
Okay, are you hearing it?
No.
Okay, let's have you go on mute for a minute. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing, and then we will add sound, okay? So we want to make sure you can hear your videos, okay?
Good.
All right. Give me 1 second here. Okay, there we go. I'm just going to stop sharing for just 1 minute here. Okay, and then we're going to reshare. And then I'm going to go on mute, okay? And you'll just have to tell me when to progress the slides, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
All right, thank you.
Thank you too, Jackie.
Okay, so we're going to need to go on mute so there's not an echo, and hopefully there's not an echo when you start talking. If there is, we'll have to come up with a plan B.
I didn't expect to cry. I just felt so uncomfortable, like I was being blamed for something I didn't do, and the tears just came.
I said what needed to be said, that racism lives here, that silence protects power, that I was tired of pretending I was okay when I wasn't.
People said she made me cry, that she was too intense. I didn't correct them. I told myself, it's not my fault, but deep down, I knew.
I've seen it before. A Black woman speaks truth. A white woman cries. Suddenly the room forgets what the conversation was even about.
I thought my tears were innocent, but now I understand my feelings were centered and hers were erased.
Your tears are not neutral. They've been weaponized by a system that protects you and punishes me. I will not be silenced. I will not shrink for your comfort.
I never thought of myself as part of the problem, but maybe silence is violence, and maybe my tears have done more harm than I was ever willing to admit.
This isn't just workplace drama. This is racial warfare disguised as professionalism.
Okay, now, do you hear an echo when I'm talking? Okay, fantastic. Thank goodness. So let's go into the first question, okay? Why is it important to understand the historical roots of white women's tears? And how does this history still shape the workplace experiences today?
That's such an important. I think there's an echo. There's an echo when I speak.
Okay, is there an echo for you?
Oh yeah, I can.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to have to turn off the sound. So give me 1 second here.
Okay.
Lots of fun stuff. Okay, so let's go ahead and just have that conversation. So
Okay.
tell us why it is important to understand the historical roots of white women's tears and how that impacts today's workplace.
I think that's an important question, and I think I will first say this. To cry is human, but not all tears carry the same weight. To cry is human,
Mhm.
but not all tears carry the same weight. White womanhood has historically been constructed as delicate, pure, and in need of protection. This is a narrative that has been born, Jackie, from colonialism, has been weaponized during slavery, has been enforced during segregation and the Jim Crow era. And interestingly enough, as you mentioned at the beginning, that this is not an American issue, it's not a UK issue, it is a global issue. Wherever there is white dominated race, I don't mean the majority, just a white race, this happens because even in South Africa, with a white minority in a black majority country, this occurs. So this is not a social myth. It has been a tool that has been used of violent enforcement. We don't have to look too far in our history. We can literally go to Emmett Till, a 14-year-old boy who was brutally lynched after a white woman, Carolyn Bryant, claimed he whistled at her. Countless black men have been jailed or murdered based on nothing more than white woman's tear or accusation. So these tears are not merely just expressions, they are signals. When a white woman cries, it could trigger state sanctioned violence. And it comes from the idea of the archetype, of the innocent white woman archetype, and also the damsel in distress archetype. And we think about these archetypes, these models, these types that many, not all, but many white women sometimes fall into. What we have to consider is that their tears are effective because they are tied to the myth of the damsel in distress. There's a societal instinct to protect white femininity. There's been a long history of privileged victimhood.
Right.
And the author Ruby Hamid literally writes, the damsel in distress is never black. As black women, we are expected to always be strong.
You know, I was just about to go there. It's the exact opposite of the black women, you know, the strong black woman trope, you know, where we don't have emotions, we don't have feelings, we don't experience pain or trauma the same way. We're expected to be working longer, stronger, faster, and harder than the average white woman in the workplace because
Indeed.
They believe that we are designed and built for hard labor.
Yeah.
So we are never to show anger, even when we are violated. The reality is that white femininity itself has been weaponized through the myth of helplessness. You know, when you think about a white woman on one hand is the prototype of virtue and victimhood, and the black woman on the other hand is the stereotype of strength and aggression. So what
Right.
does this cause? It causes an imbalance, and it ensures that white women are believed and protected, whilst on the other hand, from the age of at least 5 years old, as black children, we learn that we will be doubted and we can also be punished for the same level of vulnerability that we show. It's not seen as that. It's not perceived as that. It's not taken as that.
No, you're absolutely right. And I mean, that really strikes a chord with, I'm sure, so many people that are watching right now. It's just a really interesting dynamic. I mean, think about it. And this is taking it to the basic level. Have you ever heard someone say, wow, that is a strong white woman? Okay. Do you ever hear anybody say that? No. Okay. But you, as the Black woman, if you are able to carry a workload that is a workload the equivalent of 4 people, okay, you are looked at as, wow, that is a strong Black woman. If you can carry, the weight of your household while still dealing with the trauma from work, and then coming home and making space and time for your children, while also then opening that laptop while you're sitting in bed and trying to get your work done at night, you are looked at not just by white folks, but even by Black folks as that strong Black woman. It's just naturally inherent in who you are. And it is quite annoying. Okay, it's quite annoying. So, ready to go on to the next one?
Yeah, and I think just before we get onto the next one, I wanted to mention something. So the Professor Robin DiAngelo says something I think is quite poignant for white women to really understand about how you have been socialized. And now I really understand that many white women will sit here and say, "Oh, but I wasn't taught that. I wasn't no, yeah, it's not about what you were taught, it's what you were not taught. You were raised to understand that your tears have some sort of currency." Because we understand that when we see a child on the street crying, we're going to be moved by something, right? We're just moved by the fact, why is a child on the street with no parents crying? And there's something about when white women cry and what it does, especially when there is a white person, in this case a Black woman, also part of the conversation. So Robin DiAngelo says something. She says, as soon as I cry, so as soon as a white woman cry, all the resources goes back to her, and we, the Black woman, become the problem, because white people are socialized to expect racial comfort. Tears are used, whether consciously or not, to maintain control and to shut down any form of discomfort. So it's not just emotional, it's racial bullying disguised as fragility. So white tears are not innocent. They are a form of white racial control.
And again, I love what you said. This is not an attack on white women, but it is a lived experience of many Black women. And so one of the things that we have to do better is talk about it. And I love the fact that there are a lot of white women and white people in general that wanted to come to this. This is why, we have over 5,000 people that registered. They want to learn, they want to understand, and I can meet them halfway. I just think it's wonderful. And I love that, one of the things that I love about the two of you when I discovered you was that you're bold, you are unapologetic, and you say it like it is. And as you can tell, so do I. And that's why I think this is just an important topic. And we're bringing it to them straight, no chaser. So thank you. You ready to go on to the next one?
Oh yes, and
Mm-hmm.
before we do, just also definitely highlighting that it is important to understand these historical roots, especially of the weaponization of white women's tears, because workplaces are not in a vacuum. They exist within systems and societies. Therefore, racialized constructs are likely to be present. So it's helpful for everybody to know this, even for the people who are not Black women here as well, so that this strategic derailment can be disrupted in the workplaces. Also, this also helps with validation for Black women's experiences, just knowing that this is systemic and not a result of you personally.
Absolutely. And so we're going to see if we can do this without getting the echo. If we get the echo for the next video, we'll just deal with it, okay? Because that's how we roll. We don't let any technical issues stop us. All right. So let's go to our next video. All right.
And as Jackie's getting up the videos, these videos that she is getting up are archetypes of white women that we have all encountered at one time or another in the workplace. Now, look, white women, you might be thinking, I think I've said this, I might have behaved in this way. And I think it's important that we own up and be honest, because this is about self-awareness. When you have self-awareness, you can make changes, both as Black women and as white women. And I also stand in solidarity with non-white women who have also been at the front of white women tears. But we are ensuring that we are focusing on Black women because we have a unique experience. But we are not discounting that there are other, races that are not white that also have this interaction with white women. But these videos are not there to, again, attack, but these videos are there to really highlight the insidiousness of what we are speaking about in the workplace.
Yes, because it has it has the ability to actually derail a person's career, so that goes right back to that playbook. Okay, so it is a very serious lived experience for us as Black women. Okay, and so let's see if we can get this without an echo. You tell me if you hear an echo. Now, do you hear that at all? Okay,
no.
So I'm going to have to share again. And then I'm going to share with no sound first, and let's see how we do there, okay? All right, so let's try, and you tell me if you can hear it, okay? Oh, I hear somebody. Is that? I hear somebody typing. Okay, for some reason, this video is not playing for us. Let me present and see if that makes it better.
It's playing, but we can't hear it. Not the sound.
Okay, you're not hearing the sound. Okay, let's try again. Bear with me. Like I said, anybody who knows me knows I am not the genius of this technology. So thank goodness people give me grace. Okay, I want to go back to that video because that's an important one.
I didn't mean it that way. I was only asking why her hair is so fluffy. Why does everything have to be about race?
That's the ignorant innocent in her 20s. You can go to the next one. You can just play all of them back to back, Jackie.
So do you want to talk about this one and the whole hair thing before we move forward?
We're gonna say I'm gonna get people to write questions. They're not gonna be able to answer it because we've got a lot to go through, but there will be some selection questions that people can ask themselves after you play all
very good. All right, so here's our next one. I'm going to share again, and you guys, let's hope there's no echo.
Look, I'm doing my best here. I've read the books. I've done the trainings. But this feels like an attack. I'm literally shaking.
Okay, and I think we've got one more.
We've always been inclusive. If you felt unsafe, why didn't you just come to me privately? Calling us out publicly only divides the team.
Okay, very good. Were you able to hear all three of those? Okay, good. So let's go into, so I'm going to now take us into our next question.
So before that, Jackie, so as I was saying, I just wanted to, as it's played, so I'm hoping that as many people was able to hear that. We had the ignorant innocent, the person that always means well, but always centers themselves and cries when corrected. We had the Karen, the defensive dismisser, the HR adjacent energy, fluent in weaponized empathy and silence as punishment. Then we had Susan, the legacy gatekeeper, resentful, polished, maternal when it serves her, but master of saying everything but the racist part. Now, in the notebook or even in the chat, which of these archetypes have you encountered at work? Yeah. Which of these archetypes have you encountered at work?
Okay, and let me see if I can see those chats from here. Okay.
And how did their behavior affect your ability to speak up or feel safe? How did their behavior affect your ability to speak up or feel safe? And two more questions. What did it cost you emotionally, professionally, spiritually, financially? What was the cost to you, to your personhood? And last question, how would you respond differently now after naming the pattern? I'm going to put it in the chat as well. So you're going to get these questions in the chat. Okay, so you can go on, Jackie, to the next.
Very good. All right, so we've got another chart here. So let me go ahead and share this and have you go through this chart.
Yeah, and just to acknowledge what everybody's sending in as well, because a lot of the Black women sharing about they've experienced all of them, which just goes to show how prevalent this is in the workplace.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, and can you see this? All right, perfect. So either Ngozi or Ruth, go ahead and take us through this chart, please.
Okay, so the question I think you were asking is like, what are the subtle or not subtle ways do ways that fragility shows up in professional spaces? Look, we've got to be very honest, especially in the UK, maybe parts of America that's like the Midwest, where there's this kind of polite kind of niceness that they're very sophisticated. They be in the system. Individuals that co-opt into the system, that collude with the system, they're not going to always say that anybody in your face, right? I can't tell you the last time I was told that in the workplace, but I can tell you the amount of times that a white woman uses, and sometimes white men as well, but we're talking about white women in this case, uses their white femininity to point me as the aggressor, right? So the amazing Sherry Watt, a Black woman, has created the Privilege Identity Exploration Model, for short, PIE. Yeah. So PIE stands for the Privilege Identity Exploration Model, and it identifies common defense mechanisms individuals use when their privilege is confronted. So when we confront their privilege, these are some of the common defense mechanisms that occur. And it helps explain why conversations, particularly about race, are often derailed, and how emotions, especially white women's tears, can act as tools of avoidance and control. So in this table, this is a really good example, because this table is going to allow all of us, because at the end, Ruth is going to talk about specific strategies that she used to navigate the workplace. And if you get Jacquie's book, she also detailed strategies. But it's also important to understand the psychological weapons, whether they do it, they know it intentionally or not, that white people, particularly white women, use towards Black women when we are in these situations. So when you see it, you notice it. So for example, denial. I didn't mean that. I didn't mean it like that. That is a way that many white women avoid responsibility and center their self-comfort. Rationalization. I can't be racist. I have Black friends. How many times have we heard that? Dismissing harm by citing intentions or past actions. You know, sometimes benevolence, right? I care so much about equity. I was there on a Black Lives Matter rally. I'm hurt that you think that of me. That's a way of shifting the focus from the harm caused to personal pain. Oh, this one a lot. Minimization. We all go through hard things. It's not oppression Olympics. Why make it about race? That's a way of undermining our racial experiences by generalizing or universalizing. And false envy. Oh, I wish I had your strength. Oh, I wish I was Black. Things seem so much easier now. In what world? This is a way of centering self through distorted comparisons, often used to invalidate the racist claims that we make. So this list is not exhaustive, but these are examples of occurrences that happen quite often in the workplace that we need to be aware of. So when you see it, you go, oh, I know that trick. You're doing denial right now. You're minimizing. And as Ruth will go on to talk about later, these are terminologies you can use when you are evidencing and documenting what is happening to you in the workplace. Because more often than not, we get so emotional, we're not able to sometimes sit back and articulate what is it actually being done. How is saying I've got Black friends an issue? Why is that an issue? And then we can say it's an issue because you're rationalizing your racism because you think you've got a proximity to Blackness because you've got a Black friend called Sean. That don't make you not racist. So moving on from that, Jacquie, I think one of the other things that I would say is that when white women discomfort manifests in many subtle yet damaging ways, they dominate conversations. They love to play devil's advocate. They withdraw or go silent. They over-intellectualize. Oh, they love this one. They claim reverse racism. They love that one. They love that one.
Yes. And I cannot tell you how many times in my career in higher education I was accused of that. After, of course, I had spoke up about what I was experiencing.
Hostile body language, changing the topic, like what about class? All of these behaviors derail, equity and essentially protect their whiteness. As Robin Andiangelo said, it's about that discomfort. When a white woman feels threatened, when a white woman feels they're going to lose their ego, they're going to lose face, they're going to lose money, whatever they think they are going to lose. When fear comes up in white women, then they have one or two decisions to make. Create a situation, cajole a situation, create a performance, cry. And a lot of times we are at the brunt and at the mercy of such behaviors. But we need to arm ourselves with this knowledge. So when we see it, we discern, we take note. We don't react. We don't give in to what they're trying to do. And Ruth is going to give you the know-how to handle this. I think there's something else on the next slide. If you can go to still answer the first question.
Very good. And let me just jump in there real quick. And then Ruth, definitely want to hear from you.
Yeah.
One of the things that comes to mind for me is, the guilty until you can prove you're innocent. So when you come out and you say, I am experiencing the removal of my duties, I'm being excluded from meetings, I'm being intentionally, accidentally, intentionally left off of meeting invites and emails that have information that I need. When you come forward and you say these things, you are accused of not having thick enough skin. You are told, you're making a big deal of nothing. You are gaslit. You're making things up. That you're trying to turn something into race when it's not. But when the opposite happens, okay, and a white woman who has used those tears as a weapon does the same thing, they are believed. I mean, it is a completely different dynamic. They are believed. And then you are left with the burden of having to prove that you're innocent because you are automatically deemed guilty. Does that make sense?
Indeed.
Mm-hmm. Very
Yeah.
good. So, Ruth, go ahead and share your thoughts, sweetie.
I definitely agree with what everybody has said so far, and even following on from what you both have said. I know I've experienced it. I'm sure there's a lot of Black women that have as well, in terms of tone policing as well. Very common one in the workplace, and it can be a very strategic deflection tactic. The focus on the delivery of the message rather than the actual valid concerns that are raised. There are maybe some Black women here that may have been forced to apologize even though they did nothing wrong, or having to comfort or wipe away the tears. All of those things then center the weaponized tears and then silence the Black women's voices in the workplace.
Oh, absolutely. And then the discrimination that they were experiencing is now hidden beneath the veneer or a surface
Yeah.
of these tears that have completely taken over the narrative. And now you are the one that is being looked at with the side eye.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I just want to put your attention to the cycle of harm that we
Yeah.
see on the screen. Guys, you can take a screenshot, whatever you want to do, because understanding these patterns helps us anticipate, name, and address harmful emotional displays. When we understand it, we can name it. When we understand it, we can address it. And when we can understand it, we know we are not going crazy. And that's what's really important. And the cycle of harm: white woman tears, white woman cries. There's a systemic sympathy. There's this chorus of people run to her attention. You might even feel the pull yourself to go, oh, I didn't mean to make you cry, even though you did nothing wrong, even though they're the aggressor, even though they're the ones that provoked you. Then the silencing of Black voices, the silencing of our voice, we feel dismissed, we feel diminished, we can no longer speak. The power has shifted in their direction. Then what happens after? A lack of accountability. And then what it does, it reinforces privilege. It reinforces subjugation. It reinforces the oppression that we experience in the workplace. And I think it's important. I said it by the age of 5. I can never forget. As I end some of the points that I'm making, I never forget that I was in school, and just to make it very short, there was an A and a B in my class, and A was bullying B. These were 2 white girls, and when I saw A bullying B, I stopped it. And then later on, A, the bully, went to the head teacher and said, I was bullying her. And I remember getting called into the head teacher's office. And I've been in that office many times, unfortunately. And I was in that office, and the head teacher was saying, okay, I've been told that you are bullying A. And she was crying. And I remember being in that moment, looking at her tears, looking at the teacher, and realizing that minute I'm getting excluded. I'm being kicked out of school. There's nothing I can say. There's nothing I can do. I can't put on the waterworks because you're not going to believe me. You've already taken this person's account of a fictional story. Now, as the teacher was about to lay out my judgment, B came in and said, "Stop! This is not the case. I was being bullied, and Ngozi came to save me." And in that moment, I was let go. But what was what was really quite poignant was if B did not come in, I most likely would have been kicked out of school. My whole education would have been derailed over a lie, over the fact that I confronted this young girl, we're both 15, 16 years old, because she was bullying, I guess, her former friend. And that's when I learned the power of white tears. I learned in that moment that my innocence meant for nothing. If not for another white woman to come on my behalf and tell the truth of the matter, you know, who knows if I'll be sitting here, because my life would have turned a very different way. And that is the power of white tears. And I learned that very before that, but that's an example of at age 15, 16, I learned as a Black girl that my tears do not mean anything. And not only do my tears not mean anything, even my words, because there was nothing I could say to make the head teacher believe. So as I just round up and go over to Ruth, I want us to just remember this, that tears become tools when they derail accountability. Tears become tools when they redirect sympathy. Right. Tears become tools when they silence Black women voices, when they reinforce systemic power, when they enable institutional punishment. The impact of white women's tears is not theoretical. These are not anecdotal stories put together. These are thousands upon thousands of Black women literally saying, we've had enough. It's measurable in lost jobs, in broken reputations, in mental health decline, and sometimes even death. So my last point is, white women, you must interrogate how you've used your tears as tools of power.
Absolutely. And it's really critical because, you know, again, I have a consultancy. I opened a consultancy in May of last year because after people read my books, they wanted me to start teaching a class. So I started teaching master classes. And then many of those students wanted me to actually fight with them to help them get through their situations. And so I opened my consultancy. And I cannot tell you how many times, you know, someone, and everyone who finds me and comes to me, they are broken. Because these methods, which starts with the white tears, but it doesn't end there. There is a playbook that is being used, and it's not just designed to get you out of your job. It's actually designed to break you, like you are, you know, a wild horse that they want to tame. It is designed to damage your mental, your physical, and your emotional health to such a degree that you cannot recover. It is heinous. It pushes people over the edge. And I cannot tell you how many people contact me and tell me that they are on the verge of suicide, okay, because of what is happening to them. It is very sinister. It is nefarious. And those white tears are effective. I mean, they're highly effective. And while they're sitting there, you know, crying and everyone is rallying around them, you know, you, on the other hand, I'll give you an example. I have a client who just experienced horrific personal tragedies, okay? Personal tragedies. Now, this was just a week after a white woman had also experienced some similar tragedies. Everyone in the company rallied for this white woman. They put out a GoFundMe to help raise money because of this tragedy that she was dealing with. This Black woman then experiences her own tragedy. And not only did no one come to her aid, but her boss, who was a white woman, actually said she was being a Debbie Downer and recommended her for positivity classes. And so it's just a very stark difference. And it is just critical, because then they use that against you. They use your emotions against you, while the white woman who is exhibiting the same emotions is given grace, and you get no grace. It is just very sinister. Does that resonate with anyone? And I can see the chats. Yes,
Indeed.
absolutely. All right, you ready to go on to the next slide? Yeah, the chats are flying in.
Yes.
I've put the chat so you can just see, these are not isolated experiences of just a couple of Black women. This is something that I see. I have clients in the UK, in Canada, Australia. I just had a woman contact me from India, many in the US. And this is what we're experiencing, okay? All right. And Ngozi, are you ready to go to the next slide?
Yes.
All right. So, what are some things Black women can do to protect themselves when their credibility is under threat? I'll let either one of you go ahead and take that one.
Yes, I'm happy to talk further about this. Although I'm in the mental health profession now, one of the most valuable things that I learned from my law degree is the importance of having evidence for what you are claiming. I love what Jacquie always says, the E in email stands for evidence. So documentation is the most important thing. And since credibility is referring to how someone is trusted and believed in, of which Black women are the least believed in society, this is even more important for Black women to do. A lot of you I know are aware of my story that I've shared of what happened to me years ago regarding a previous white woman manager that I had who planned to get me terminated from my role. And how I came across this was when an email thread with the other white women on my team was sent to me accidentally by the manager herself. And my manager was a Susan in terms of that persona. And she cried in the office once she realized that the email was sent to me. She then went to HR, and then I was shortly called into a meeting with claims of being hostile and upsetting the manager. Initially, HR was on her side because they said she had a long-standing service to the company until the meeting began, and I'll share a very condensed version. But first strategy, document everything. Start documenting even the moment you arrive in the workplace, when you start working there, especially if you are the only Black person on the team. In this instance, I was the only Black person on that team. Do not become comfortable. Even if you love your job, you need to have your armor on, especially when the shift from pet to threat happens in the workplace, because that is a very real phenomenon that happens. Record micro aggressions where you can in writing, inappropriate comments that you receive, and any emotional shifts that you notice, whether this is from colleagues and also the feelings that come up for you, but always link it to the impact on your work. Don't do this on work equipment. For example, there are a lot of companies that can wipe traces of evidence if you do so. So always save copies of your documentation on your own devices, especially in UK law. Although race is a protected characteristic under the Equality Act 2010, due to the presence of indirect discrimination, this is harder to prove when it's more microaggressions, because many, for example, in this case, white women, they can argue that it was unconscious or unintentional, even though a lot of times, as Jacquie says, it's not unconscious but unconscionable. Hence why I did not use the term unconscious bias in any formal matter that I have raised. If you say it's unconscious, then they can say they don't know, then they can say it doesn't exist. You need to be able to prove that there was some intent there. So make sure there's timestamps, there's written evidence of verbal meetings. If you have verbal meetings, you follow it up with an email, as if it is not in writing, it did not happen. Where possible, if there's any laws that have been breached or any company policies that have been breached, definitely put that in there as well. This is what I did at the time, and this is what I've always done in workplaces, including capturing what was said verbatim so that nobody is misquoted. Do not speak for the intent of the other person. It can be tempting to do it in this case, especially when it's a white woman in power, to be like, oh, I'm sure she meant well, all of that. Leave that to the side. That's up to them to prove. You just got to focus on the impact on you as well and the events that took place, and it's on them to prove their intent. And just as importantly, alongside the inequitable treatment that you are to document. Also document your wins. This is so important, not just with regards to any formal grievances that you're raising, but even with regards to if you decide to move on to another job, you have like a win folder, like, yeah, I achieved this. So save emails, whether it's appraisals, whether it's successful outcomes. I had won, for example, awards at that organization, and I had a good reputation in this company. So every email, all the marketing material linked to me, even emails from my very own manager commending my excellent work, I saved it and I used it as part of my evidence. If you have evidence of success, then it strengthens your credibility and it counters any attempt to discredit you as well. And I
Very
was
good.
sorry, Jack, we're going to say something.
Oh, I just love it. I'm sitting here nodding. You are just singing music to my ears right now. A couple of things I want to mention with Pet to Threat. I believe that was coined by Keisha Thomas and two other women. So I want to make sure I give them proper credit.
Yes.
I also want to make sure that, in my consultancy, one of the things that I tell my clients, in addition to, my favorite motto, which is the E in email stands for evidence. In the UK, the tribunal frowns upon, because I have a lot of clients in the UK, the tribunal frowns upon using recordings that you've made secretly,
Yeah.
They frown upon it. However, they will accept it, So, if you know that you have a situation where you've got to go into a meeting and you know that it has the potential to turn toxic, this is what I teach all of my clients. Now, in the US, you want to make sure that you are in a one-party consent state, and the person that you are talking to is also in a one-party consent state. It gets very tricky if you are 100% remote. So I typically do not recommend this if you are 100% remote. However, if you are on site, and you can validate and say, I'm on site and you're on site and we're on site together, we're in a one-party consent state, you want to get one of these. I require all of my clients to get one of these. This is a pen recorder. It looks like a pen, it writes like a pen, it acts like a pen, but you carry this little pen around with you everywhere. I used to hang it on my little suit pocket here. I would take it in. If I'm on my way to the restroom and, I get ambushed by my boss, I'm just clicking the little button and it starts recording. So I liked it because, you can immediately tell if somebody's trying to record you. You flip your cell phone upside down, that's an instant clue that you're trying to record this conversation. That's why I wanted something a little less obvious, and this pen really does the trick. You can get this at an Office Depot or an Office Max for $16, and it is worth its weight in gold. So again, you don't want to do this if you are in a two-party consent state. So for example, California, Florida, definitely don't want to do it there. But if you're in a one-party consent state, and I cover all of this in my book, Surviving in a Toxic Workplace, Strategies to Help You. This is how I set these companies up. I cover one-party consent states. So if you don't know if you are in a one-party consent state, you can find the list inside of my book, That's one thing. I also loved what you said, Ruth, about, I call it, so in my book, I call it learn to toot your own horn, beep, beep, We've got to do a better job of tooting our own horns, making sure that everyone and their cousin, knows the value we are bringing to this position, One of the biggest mistakes that I see so many people make is they start these jobs and, in the beginning, you're getting a lot of great compliments, but they're all verbal. And so if you are not taking those verbal compliments about the great job that you're doing and converting those into real tangible evidence, then when someone starts to target you, which is usually the result of a change in leadership, you had a great boss. This boss was wonderful. But this boss left, and now they've hired someone new who doesn't see the same value that you bring, because the first thing they notice about you is, guess what? You are Black. So you have to be able to show before this person starts doing the number one thing in the playbook, which is making you appear incompetent. Now, you've been on this job all this time, okay? And you've been getting rave performance reviews, you've been getting compliments, things are great. They start targeting you, and then all of a sudden they're trying to convince people that you just all of a sudden became dumb as a doorknob. You just all of a sudden became incompetent. Well, unfortunately, there's a power dynamic, and you as a Black woman will not be believed. Remember, you are guilty unless you can prove you're innocent. The way you do that is by documentation, and not just the stuff that you are emailing. You've got to convert those verbal conversations, the good, the bad, and the ugly, into a written recap, okay? When they tell you something verbal, give you a compliment, you should be running to your computer and typing them a thank you note, okay? If they're saying something, they're trying to make you the Black workhorse, okay? Putting a mountain of work on you without extra pay because they misclassify a lot of Black women's jobs as salary exempt. And, I cannot tell you how much fun it is for me to find those for my clients, because they get up to 3 years of back pay at time and a half. So they do a lot of these things, guys. Listen to me and get this book, Surviving in a Toxic Workplace: Strategies to Help You Protect Your Career, and join the Black Women's Rest Revolution. Because the reason this appeals to me, I get asked to join a lot of different ventures. There's a lot of Black women doing amazing things, but this one really stuck out because they said, we want to teach strategies, we want to give tools, we want to help Black women, in a way that we just really haven't seen done. And they said they need me, and I said, okay. So this is one that I could get behind and throw my voice and my experience and my books and my classes and even my consultancy behind. Mm-hmm. So this is what I recommend. You see the Black Women's Rest Revolution link scrolling here at the bottom. But in Ngozi and Ruth, did we put it in the chat so they can easily find it if they were to join? Okay. When you join the Rest Revolution, you actually get to talk directly with me about what's going on in your situation. We're planning, that 1 hour block of time where I am there, and you can just ask me questions, tell me what's going on at your job, and I will tell you what I would do in that situation or what I would recommend. I am also going to be visiting the UK. We're in the process of planning our big event where I will be there live, and I'm really looking forward to that. So guys, continue. Just wanted to throw my 2 cents in there.
Thank you, Jackie. Thank you. We're looking forward to having you as well. So thank you. Very important points that Jackie has raised as well. Mm-hmm. Following on from what Jackie has said as well. Also, just making sure that we. Oh yeah, Jackie, we're still on the previous one, the previous slide. And we'll move on to this one. But we're gonna come on to that one as well. So we'll dig into that as well. Okay. But also just with regards to credibility as well, just making sure you let the record speak. Jackie's mentioned some points as well, but for in-person meetings where possible, if it means printing relevant threads and bringing them into meetings if needed. This is what I did as soon as I saw the email thread from my manager. I was in shock for several minutes, but immediately I knew I had to move fast because I was aware that this email was sent to me through the work system. So I was like, okay, I'm going to forward this to my personal email. I saved another version, my personal drive, and I printed that thread ASAP. I then placed a copy of that thread in my bag so nobody could see that I had a copy in my bag. And then I took a screenshot of my calendar for that day and emails proving my task for the day so that I can prove what I was doing in case that manager came up with an alibi, which he did in that meeting. And I was easily able to disprove it because she was saying, no, Ruth has been so hostile, crying. I said, okay, tell me what time this happened. The time that she said was actually the time that I was actually in a meeting prior to the time that she actually had accidentally sent me the thread, which automatically disproved what she had said. And a very important thing, if you are doing this, don't show your full hand too soon. Let them reveal their patterns. When my manager, she left the office and cried, around that time, the other white women colleagues, they started coming around my desk. Hi, Ruth, how are you? So I showed no signs of distress. I even smiled at them. So they had no idea as to whether I had seen the email or not. I also privately knew that because they had been involved, because their names are all in the thread, they may inform the manager as to my reaction. So I aim to give nothing away. I had a few hours before my meeting with HR, so I had to move to a private place before that meeting just to have a little woosah and work on my strategy before I went in that meeting. When I went in that meeting, HR were hailing her reputation. And yes, this HR team were all white. They let her recount her story first. They were even giving her tissues, all of that. Obviously, I was sitting there quietly observing her, and I had to do everything in my power to remain as composed as possible, because I knew any gesture from me, any tear from me is going to be read differently, unfortunately, just because of my positionality as a Black woman. All she had was tears. There was no other evidence that she presented. However, my manager quickly stopped crying when she saw that I whipped out a copy of the thread from my bag in this meeting. And then I recounted what happened that day before the meeting took place. So I made it very clear that I was aware of what was being discussed, because her and the white women were saying, oh, did you get my email? So mentioned all of that in there. She planned to use that meeting as a way to escalate my termination. However, once I whipped out the thread, I said, based on this, I have grounds to escalate this formally. However, I did not say in the meeting what other evidence I had, so that she would not have time to find ways to avoid accountability. So it's very important to observe the power dynamics in your team, your organization. Who do you notice that this person has leverage with? I knew certain people that she had certain ways that she would kind of get around certain things, because I had observed her after spending a substantial time at the organization. So I saw how she had tried to leverage her power in unethical ways to get her way. So you can use a phrase like, I've documented this and I'll be sharing more at the next stage. This can build anticipation. This also can prompt behavioral shifts, because then you can silently observe and record. So because, for example, this HR department wanted to look into this very quickly, I had about a week's gap before my next meeting, and the shifts were very interesting. This included my manager giving me a box of chocolates in the office. Everyone had some tiny little box and, oh, hi, Ruth, just wanted to give this to you. Good morning. So I said, oh, if I was so hostile in my head, why the gifts? And also she told me I no longer have to email her and we can just talk verbally.
Oh, you know what that is.
That is, Jacquie, very real. So I'll respond to her via email and say, oh, thank you for our meeting this afternoon, letting me know that you would no longer like me to contact you via email.
Exactly.
Also for the box of chocolates that you gave me today, following on from what we discussed today, this is the task that I've been working on, Thank you, kind regards. So she never responded to it, but I used that as evidence to show the shifts following what had happened after I had escalated things as well. Now, this is what is touching on this question about how do you manage your emotions and power when you're being painted as the problem for speaking truth. The first thing is important to reframe it. As a Black woman, it's important to remember your emotions are valid. In general, you have a right to be angry. You have a right to be distressed. However, due to systemic constructs around our emotions, especially in the workplace, our emotions are not validated in the same way in comparison to white women, especially when it comes to raising things formally. So if you are, before you're going to any formal meeting or an email, just make sure that the focus is kept on the work and not fully feelings based. So it's not perceived as reactive and detracts from the valid points that you are making. If you are mentioning personal impact, then just link it to how this has impacted you doing your work. Your aim is to communicate that all you want to do is your job and to do it well without any obstructions to that as well. And then also handle emotional deflection, because this often happens in the workplace. You might professionally confront something or raise something about inequitable treatment in the workplace, and the white woman starts crying. And what I've usually done, even in this situation with the manager, I said, oh, okay, I'm curious as to what's making you cry. She couldn't have an answer. And this is what I have usually done in professional settings, because I made it clear that her claim that I was hostile and upsetting her is news to me, because I've never had that complaint anywhere in any workplace. And usually, whenever I have this kind of discourse with a white woman that does that, they usually struggle to formulate a proper reason. Because what usually happens is the white woman cries and it's like, oh, we've got to comfort her, we've got to, because the tears, we know they're so potent, and many Black women naturally and understandably can feel the urge to just immediately try and console the white woman, just so that they're not perceived as the aggressor, and so it doesn't negatively impact their careers. But try as much as possible not to follow that immediate impulse, to immediately soothe it, and don't immediately apologize or abandon your point. Stand on what you've said, because obviously if you are trying to soothe, then it can imply that you have caused these weaponized tears, when really you haven't. They are just uncomfortable with what you are raising. So what I usually do, I'll be like, okay, we'll continue the conversation once you're ready. I'll wait for them to stop crying, and then I will continue. So I will avoid engaging through the emotion, just so that I can regain the focus of the discussion. And then that way you maintain your power in that way. And linking to maintaining your power, as much as possible, maintain your composure. It's not easy. It definitely wasn't easy in that situation. But as much as possible, do your best to stay calm. If it means you can kind of restrain, don't cry, try not to raise your voice, even when they are, because in that situation, the white woman was really even flinching, like I was going to do something. I'm sitting so far away from her. And I was just sitting there like, okay, I know she's trying to intentionally push my button so she can say, Ruth's an aggressor. No, I'm not going to get that from me. Okay.
Right.
I'm going to sit there and
There you
listen.
go.
Yeah,
I
because
love it. I absolutely love it. I mean, you are dropping so many gems, so much gold, and, we will probably need to do a part 2, because we have so much more to cover. But
definitely.
sadly, we are already over our time. And I mean, we could go on for hours. So just real quick, would anyone like for us to do another part 2 and come back and finish this discussion? Because there is so much more. And, let me just put the chats up here. Let me see if I can get them back on the screen.
Put a part 2 in the chat if you want us to do a part 2.
Yeah, and then we can
This
continue.
is absolutely groundbreaking. Black women are waking up. We are no more. We are like, no more. We are finding our voice. We are claiming our power. It's hard. It is painful. Many women in this chat right now are facing the beast right now, and it is hard, but you are here. And we want to create another space where we can talk about this, and maybe we can have the direct questions and we can all give our advice. We can do one where you ask the question and we give advice. We're all going to have different points of view, but all in the aim to give you resources, a toolkit, to support you to navigate the workplace.
That's
That's why we came together, because we are exclusively working with Black women to empower them, to mobilize them for success in the workplace and out of the workplace.
Yes.
Well, and I know that there are still folks that are on the corporate plantation. There are still folks that are, there, and they can't use their voices the way that they want to or they need to. So that's where we come in. We can talk when you can't. We can communicate when you can't. And so we will not let our voices be silenced. We don't care if it's a supervisor, advisor, Budweiser, Sunvisor. Okay. we will not be silenced. Okay.
Yeah.
So we will do a part 2.
Yes.
And what we can do. So let's think about this, guys. With this platform, Restream, I actually like Restream a lot. it allows us to bring people on stage that want to come on stage, and and they can ask their question verbally. And then after they ask their question, we can move them off and then put the other person, because they can get in line and they can ask us questions directly. So we should do that in a part 2. They come prepared to ask us any questions. I saw so many great questions in the chats, and I'm going to go back later when I have time, and I will
captured a few if you
Oh,
guys
oh,
want
you
to answer
did?
any questions. Yeah, I saved some.
Oh, thank you. This is my Lila Bell. This is my Delilah. She's my youngest daughter. She's my mini me, and she helps me in the background because, as you can see, I'm not quite as technically savvy as I would like to be with all this. But she does a great job in just keeping her mom straight. So
Yes,
you said that
I
you
love helping.
and so go ahead and share some of those things. And by the way, if you liked the photos that I had appear, me and the Panthers, that's actually the work of this daughter. So if you want to get some special photos that look so real, no one in your family will be able to tell it is not you in any clothes, in any location, doing anything you want, hair, whatever. My daughter does that, and her rates are incredible. Right now, she's running a special where you can get 2 customized, realistic photos anywhere in the world you want, wearing anything you want. We can give you red bottom shoes. We can put you in the middle of the ocean, whatever you want. She does it, and she's running a special 2 for $20. So if you would like to check out her services, she's absolutely incredible. Her name is Delilah Harris, because everybody needs to have photos that they are proud of, okay? Photos where they are anywhere they want to be, wearing anything they want to wear and doing anything they want to do. My thing is Panthers, okay? So my daughter, once again, Delilah Harris.
Yes, and on LinkedIn it's Delilah Moore, but then it also shows Harris too, because I was recently married. But yeah, love doing the photo shoots.
Delilah Moore Harris.
And another reason I love being able to help is we do get some trolls, but today we didn't have too many, thank goodness. And I love how the chat, took care of it with me. So we all did a great job, everyone. So here's some of the questions. So one person asked, is the video that you were sharing, Ngozi, available somewhere? Because they want to watch that series you have with that white woman and the black woman talking.
Yay!
Oh, thank you. By the time we do the next live, maybe June, Jackie, we can do in the second June.
Sounds good.
I'm going to have a YouTube channel, and that's where I'm going to create the different animations, different stories, not only my stories, Ruth's stories. I have stories for days because I have, similar to Jackie, Black women reach out to me and they want me to share their stories. So yes, they'll come out on YouTube. I'm also going to be creating documentaries on the Black woman experience. So one of the first topics I'm going to tackle, I always get this name wrong because I can't speak properly sometimes. Misanjwa. Have I got it right? Misanjwa.
Yeah, misogynoir. Yes.
I say misogyny with misogyny. I say misogynoir, but misogynoir. And I'm going to talk about where it comes from and the why, as Black women, we are hated. And one of my favorite lines, guys, is rested Black women are a threat to systems. When you rest, when you are self-aware, when you understand yourself, the good, the bad, and the indifferent, when we understand who we truly are and what we've been called to do on this earth, we are a threat to the systems. But when we remain as zombies, when we remain stupefied, when we are constantly in trauma and constantly in flight and fight, we are easily used within the system. So yes, the videos will be out on YouTube very soon. So in the next live, hopefully my YouTube will be up and I can share it then. So thank you so much for enjoying the animations.
Awesome. Yes. There's a lot of people who are asking for that. So that'll be really good. I know you'll get a huge following from that. So the next question was, I don't know what to do with the anger I feel about these issues. Please help me learn how to channel this anger in a healthy way. Is there a healthy way to channel the anger we feel?
Okay. I'm going to let one of our psychotherapists handle that. Because if you read my book, you know I didn't handle it well. You know, I was trying to find somebody in a dark alley with no cameras and no witnesses, right?
Yeah.
So
That's real.
So,
Yeah.
Ngozi or Ruth, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, happy to go for that as well. I would say definitely find spaces that can validate the very valid anger that you feel, especially when we are in environments that we have to suppress it so we're not perceived a certain way. One of the spaces, of course, is the Black Women's Rest Revolution, where, for example, if you are a Black woman, you can come in, be amongst other women who are in the same, they've experienced the same as you as well. If it means speaking with, licensed therapists, especially one that shares the same positionality as you, that can be very helpful, because you just need a space where you can share it as well, and it can be validated and heard. So at least where you have an outlet to let that out, that's very important as well.
And just to add, your rage
Yeah.
is valid, your rage is ancestral,
Mhm.
you are channeling rage of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. So that's first. Two,
Yes.
as Ruth mentioned, collective healing spaces like the Black Women's Rest Revolution, other sister circles, exercise, dancing, channeling it in ways that you build activism. These are ways that we channel. The Black Women's Rest Revolution is a channel of frustration, is a channel of pain. These are ways that we can channel healthily our anger. Because am I creating this because I'm angry? Yes, I hate the fact that as a Black woman we're treated this way. So yeah, I am legitimately angry, but the difference is that I've created a solution. I've created a space that I wish I had 10, 15 years ago. So these are ways that you can channel your anger, but know first and foremost that it is valid and actually healthy to be angry, because you are being treated differently. Why? Because of the color of the skin and the gender you've been born into. That is not right.
Yeah, that's right. And you know what? One of the things you will get from us, you see, we keep it real. We don't sugarcoat. We give it to you straight, no chasers. And I even put it in my book. That's why I said they need to be the ones to tell you how to handle it properly, because me, I wanted to do something to that bitch. I really, really did. I really did. I had to really have a talk with God, because I was like, Lord, if I catch this woman in a dark alley with no cameras and no witnesses, I cannot be responsible for what I do, okay?
Real.
Feelings are real. That's for
right.
sure.
They are real.
All right. So next question. What happens when a Black woman in senior leadership connects with other white women in senior leadership versus supporting Black women when they should know and understand what Black women go through?
You know what?
Really sad situation.
I am so glad you said that, because one of the themes that, and this was the other thing that caught my attention about Ruth and Ngozi, we are not talking about just white women and white tears, okay? Let me just tell you, and you need to be following us on LinkedIn if you are not already, because I've dedicated a whole book on LinkedIn to this, and so have they. So let me just put it to you this way. Malcolm X said, the most disrespected, unprotected, elected person in America, but this is all over the world, okay? But in America, according to Malcolm X, is the Black woman. But in a lot of cases, the very person disrespecting, unprotecting, and neglecting the Black woman is another Black woman. Okay, now I will say this too, the same way you take down a toxic white woman is the same way you take down a toxic Black one, because in a lot of cases, you've got two things going on here, okay? Either this woman is so ridiculous that she thinks there can only be one magical Negro, okay? She doesn't realize there's room for everybody to succeed, right? So that's one situation. The other situation is she has forgotten she's Black, okay? She puts more value, okay, on white lives than she does on Black. And so you find situations where this Black woman who is in a position of power, she is Black, she has forgotten she's Black. She then treats other Black people as inferior. And so she treats them worse than she treats the other people on the team. And it's really sad. It's sad because it's something that was born out of slavery.
Yeah.
Okay. So does either one of you want to take that and carry it away?
I would say this: we got to talk about our relationship with our mothers, because for many of us, we have experienced a level of self-hate from our mothers. Many of us have a complicated relationship with our Black mothers, or our Black grandmothers, or our Black parents, or our Black guardians.
Or how about a high yellow, no good father?
Mm-hmm. So, in order to talk about Black women in the workplace betraying other Black women, I don't think we can start that off without talking about our family, because many of us were betrayed in our family. If we were not protected by some abuse, and I'm not going to say it now in this space, but many of us, especially in the Black community, have gone through a lot of SA, and it happens. So if we are unprotected in our own households, in our own communities, it is not surprising that in the workplace there's no sisterhood. That Black woman that were like, "Hey, why isn't she seeing me?"
Mm-hmm.
Because many of us were not seen as children. But yeah, that I wanted to come from that angle, not something to go into, but just something to bear in mind that we carry a lot of mother wounds in the Black community across the entire world. We have it in Africa, we have it in the diaspora. We have a lot of mother wounds. So a lot of Black women are carrying that into the workplace, and sometimes we then get the brunt of their unresolved mother wounds and other wounds and trauma they go through. It doesn't make it right, but these are some of the explanations of why at times we do not get the camaraderie we expect from Black women, and when we get betrayed, it hurts even more. But it hurts even more because the Black woman that should have protected us should have been our mother, should have been our sisters, should have been our aunties, and for many of us, they failed in that regard. Ruth, I don't know if you want to add anything in that.
Mm-hmm.
No, you said it all.
Yes, you did. I mean, powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And, I will just say this. In the workplace, and unfortunately, a lot of these folks that fall into that category of, they put more value on non-Black lives in the workplace than they do Black lives. And so they treat the Black folks differently. It's actually something that you can fight. I have had success in filing discrimination complaints and helping and writing. I write the most powerful discrimination complaints, okay? I am a gifted writer when it comes to writing our experiences in a real and authentic way to put the humanity back into a situation that's been dehumanized, okay? And like I said, the way you take down a white one is the same way you take down a Black one, because it comes down to internalized racism, which is something that the EEOC and the civil rights agencies and the tribunal recognize occurs, okay? So you take them down and you set them up the same way, and it works, okay?
Yep.
All right. I mean, excellent conversation. We have gone way over time, but I saw the chats flying in. It looks like we have part 2.
Yes, definitely.
And so, again, we had over 5,000 people register. So between watching it live and the replays, everyone will be getting this content. If you are not following Ngozi, Ruth, me, and Delilah Moore Harris on LinkedIn, and you have to check the little bell, okay? There's a little bell on our profiles. They don't send out our stuff. The algorithm doesn't. It takes me forever to get my stuff to get traction. So you want to go to the profiles of each of us, check the little bell, make sure you are telling it you want to see all of our content, because we do a lot of amazing things. And many of you didn't even know we existed until today. Okay, so definitely connect with us, follow us, and let's do this. Let's start making some warriors. People that are walking away. If you choose to walk away with your pockets full, stop walking away empty-handed. Okay, and we'll go into more of the playbook. This was White Women Tears. This was one piece of a very big playbook.
Oh yeah.
Definitely. And I guess my last parting words would be that we're going to do a part 2, as I said, and maybe even other lives every so often, because one of my biggest passions is how to help Black women financially equip themselves. Because
Yeah.
the reality is, especially in America, I understand the interconnectedness with your benefits and your work. The same workplace is making you sick, but if you leave the workplace, you lose all your benefits, right? So the toxic cycle, and as someone said it, the plantation, we are, this is just slavery in dollar signs. So we have to economically empower ourselves as Black women, so then we are able to exit well, to exit with our heads up high, and to have the power back and say, I don't need to be treated this way because you guys say your 401k, our pensions, the way we have financially set ourselves up. We don't have to be filthy rich, but what we can do is that we've got a windfall of money, whether it's tied up in real estate or whether it's in liquid cash. And I'm very passionate about that because it empowers us to make decisions. Because many of you right here on this live watching the replay are in toxic environments because you can't leave, because you got to what? Pay your bills. You got to feed your children. And as Black women, unfortunately, for many of us, we are carrying our whole family, sometimes our whole family back home in Africa, the Caribbean, wherever we're from, on our shoulders. And we've got to find ways to release that burden. So whether it's in this live, whether it's in a lot of the things that we're going to create in the Black Women's Rest Revolution, we've got courses that are going to come out, we've got ebooks that are going to come out.
Yes.
It's going to come out. You know, I might even do a how to create an AI, because people keep asking me how I create my AI and all of this stuff and videos. All of this is to empower us as Black women. So stay tuned, follow all of us. We will be doing something, you know, we can't say too much yet, in London, spring next year. Before for Black women, then if it goes really well, when it goes really well, we'll go to the States as well. But we are really starting a revolution. It is our time right now. Black women, it's our time. Rise up, stand up. Your melanin is popping, it is glistening, whether you're light skin, dark skin, brown skin, molten skin, or whatever you are. We come together and we stand up and we support each other because it's our time.
That's right. I love it. And I just want to thank everyone for, staying. I know, we're past our time, but this is important. I really want to thank our UK folks, because what is it, like 2 a.m. there right now?
It's
2:34, I am loving it, and I'm sending you all much love. And if you are purchasing my book, Surviving in a Toxic Workplace, definitely DM me. I'd like to get on a Zoom with you after you read it to hear your thoughts, okay? I make it a point to connect with absolutely everyone who invests in me. And so I want to invest in you, and I'll give you that hour of time to talk to me. All right, guys. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye. Good morning, good evening, good night.
Good night. Get some sleep, girl. But just stay back for me, Ngozi and Ruth.